Los Pumas, Argentina's national rugby union team, have now become a force to be reckoned with on the international stage. Over the last 2 decades, they have gone from being a laughingstock within the southern hemisphere to being a genuine Tier 1 international side. However, there's more to this rise than simply results on the pitch. The players and coaching staff have played a pivotal role, and as well as that, the fans and rugby as a whole have been a contributing factor, as the sport is now the fastest growing team sport in South America. So sit back and relax as we look into the inspiring rise of Argentinian rugby. As always, before we begin, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Once again, thank you so much for the recent support on the videos. Honestly, without you guys none of this would be possible. And so without further ado, let's go. To understand why this rise is so inspiring, we have to look into Argentina's past to really get a glimpse of just how far they've come. Like with football, the game of rugby was brought over to Latin America by British immigrants. In fact, the River Plate Rugby Football Union team, from which the Argentine national team derives originally, consisted solely of descendants from British immigrants. By 1927, they were able to find a team entirely made up of Argentines to play against the British and Irish Lions, as the sport began to grow at a rapid pace within Argentina and its neighbouring countries. After dominating South American rugby tournaments throughout the 1950s, Argentina crossed the Atlantic for their first fixtures outside of South America. Between May and July of 1965, they toured South Africa, winning 11 games and losing only 4 over the 2 months. The players returned to a huge crowd in Buenos Aires, who applauded their triumph. The team also returned with the nickname LosPumas, courtesy of a local journalist. This marked a turning point for the Argentina national rugby team, as under this new identity, it gave them the credibility to play against other nations, but especially with their Southern Hemisphere counterparts, them being the All Blacks from New Zealand, the Wallabies from Australia, and the Springboks from South Africa. Now under their new identity Los Pumas, Argentina can now challenge the world's top teams. Through the 1970s, Argentina confirmed its steady rise towards top tier status, under the influence of its first truly world-class player, fly half Hugo Porter. In 1973, Los Pumas went on a tour to Ireland and Scotland, playing 8 matches in October and November. Argentina won only 2 games, losing 4 with 2 draws. The second Argentine tour of Europe came in 1975, when the team played 7 matches in France during October, winning 3 matches but losing 4, with 2 of these losses coming against the France national team. A year later, Argentina went on a tour of Wales and England to play 6 matches, and it was during this tour where Los Pumas came tantalisingly close to a historic victory at Cardiff Arms Park over Wales, losing by just a single point 2019. Now bear in mind that this was pretty incredible, as Wales earlier that year had just won a 5 Nations Grand Slam, meaning they had beaten every elite Northern Hemisphere side. For Argentina to go to the other side of the world and narrowly lose to a world-class Wales team showed that things were changing for Los Pumas. And this was true, as in 1979 Australia toured Argentina for the first time. During October and November, Australia played a series of 7 games, and in the first test match, Argentina defeated Australia 24 points to 13 to mark a famous win in Buenos Aires. Los Pumas were now truly beginning to prove themselves on the international stage. During the 1980s, several teams toured Argentina. The England national team arrived in Argentina for the first time in 1981. The English side played 7 matches in the country, with Argentina drawing their first test against them and narrowly losing second test 12 points to 6. In 1985, when France toured South America, Los Pumas would claim their first win over the French national team on the 22nd of June. Later that year, they faced the All Blacks, where they achieved a historic 21-all draw, with all points being converted by Hugo Porter. France returned to Argentina in 1986 as part of their Oceania tour, as Los Pumas achieved their second victory over France, 15 points to 13. In 1987, Argentina played the first Rugby World Cup held in New Zealand and Australia. The team had a poor campaign, losing to Fiji and New Zealand in the pool stage, with only 1 victory over Italy. The team finished 3rd in Pool 3, and thus were eliminated. However, Los Pumas would bounce back with tour wins against Australia in 1987 and France in 1988 respectively. The early 90s was a period of transition for Argentina, as many of their most experienced players retired, and the defection of many others to professional leagues due to the UAR, Argentina's Rugby Union governing body's regulations at the time prevented any player who played professionally from playing for the national team. As a result, this left Argentina with an inexperienced side. This was evident as in 1990 LosPumas toured the British Isles, losing to Ireland 2018, as well as being smashed by England 51-0 and Scotland 49-3. And a year later in 1991, the All Blacks returned to Argentina. The national team was defeated in both tests, 28 points to 14 and 36 points to 6. Later that year in the World Cup, they would crash out in the pool stages, finishing bottom of their pool with 0 wins. Argentina went on a new tour of Europe in 1992, where the team defeated Spain, Romania and France. 2 years later, LosPumas toured South Africa to play 6 matches, losing both tests to the Springboks, and in 1995, their tour to Australia continued with poor results, losing twice to the Wallabies. The 1995 World Cup would be no better, as once again Argentina would finish bottom of their pool with 0 wins. Results like these weren't good for LosPumas, and things needed to change sooner rather than later. As the professional era came into fruition, on the pitch it was a slow start for LosPumas, as in 1997 on tour to New Zealand, they endured their worst ever defeat in their history, losing to the All Blacks 93 points to 8. To make matters even worse, a year later Argentina would be beaten by Japan, Italy, France and Wales. But in 1999 things started to change, as that August Argentina would beat that year's Five Nations champion Scotland 31-22 at Murrayfield. This put LosPumas in a great position going into the World Cup, as this more experienced and somewhat underrated squad would shock the rugby world by finishing second in their pool with 2 wins and thus qualifying for their first quarter-final in their history. Even though they were eliminated at this stage, fly half for 10 Gonzalo Quesada was the highest overall point scorer in the entire tournament with a whopping 102 points. Following a fantastic tournament, a number of Argentine players were offered the opportunity to play club rugby in Europe, which would be absolutely crucial for Argentina in order for them to continue to compete at the top level. In April 2000, former captain Marcelo Lafreda was appointed coach of Argentina. Argentina participated in the 2003 World Cup, but failed to make out of the pool due to a 15-16 loss to Ireland. In 2004 they beat Six Nations champions France 24-14 in Marseille, and were now starting to convince the rugby world that they could truly hang around with the best teams. On May 23, 2005, LosPumas would have one of their best matches of the decade as they faced the British and Irish Lions in a warm-up match in Cardiff. The Pumas chose a side of second and third choice players as 25 weren't available due to club commitments, but against all odds, they managed to come away with a 25-all draw. 2006 would start strong as they beat Wales twice and at the end of the year topped that with a 25-18 win against England at Twickenham, putting them in a good position for the 2007 Rugby World Cup. LosPumas would beat Ireland twice in their warm-up fixtures, but in the last match lost to Wales. On the opening match day they would play the hosts, a pretty strong French side, but surprisingly they would win the match 17-12, and to top that off, they would go unbeaten in their pool, winning all 4 games. In the quarter-final they blew away Scotland 1913, but their incredible streak came to an end when they were beaten by the Springboks 37-13. However, they would overcome France in the 3rd/4th place playoff match, and in the process, their best World Cup finish to date, finishing 3rd. As a result, Argentina were ranked as the 3rd best team in the world according to the IRB rankings. This achievement prompted heavy debate about the option of including LosPumas in the Six Nations or Tri-Nations, as they truly now were an elite side. Now under a different coach, Santiago Falan, Argentina would lose their opening 2011 World Cup match to England, but win their next 3 matches to finish second in their pool. They would draw the All Blacks in the quarterfinals, losing 33 points to 10, but 2012 saw a major breakthrough for Argentina, as they joined the Rugby Championship, formerly known as the Tri-Nations, against New Zealand, Australia and South Africa, which was the first time Argentina participated in an annual Tier 1 international competition. Even though they joined in 2012, it wasn't until the 5th of October 2014, under new head coach Daniel Horcad, that Argentina would get their first ever win in the Rugby Championship, defeating Australia 21-17 on home soil. They would top this a year later, beating South Africa for the first time 37-25. Argentina followed their growing competitiveness in the Rugby Championship, with a strong showing in the 2015 World Cup, finishing second in their pool with only one loss. They blew away Ireland 43-20 in the quarters, but were beaten 29-15 by Australia in the semi-final. In the end, they would finish 4th, losing 24-13 in the 3rd/4th place playoff match to the Springboks. In 2018, Daniel Hawkart was replaced by Mario Ledesma. In the 2019 Rugby World Cup, LosPumas finished 3rd in their group, failing to qualify for the knockouts. Despite this disappointing exit, in 2020, LosPumas would make history, beating the All Blacks 25-15 in Sydney, and 2 years later, under new head coach Michael Cheika, Argentina would beat Australia and New Zealand in the same rugby championship. A year later in the same competition, they would beat Australia again as they looked ahead to the World Cup in France later that year. Argentina would finish second in their pool and breeze past Wales 29-17 in the quarterfinals, but were beaten heavily 44-6 by the All Blacks in the semis, crashing out. They would narrowly lose the 3rd/4th place playoff match to England. Following defeat, head coach Michael Cheika parted ways and was replaced by his assistant Felipe Contepomi. Honestly, who knows what's next for LosPumas, but considering how far they've come in just a matter of a few years, I think it's fair to say that they're a genuine Tier 1 side, and who knows, maybe one day they can win some international silverware. So there you have it, that was the inspiring rise of Argentinian rugby. Thanks for making it to the end of the video. As always, make sure to like, share and subscribe for more of the best rugby content. Also, thanks for the support on the recent videos. With that all said and done, it's been your boy John Talks Rugby, and if you enjoyed this video, make sure to click on the screen to watch my recent videos now.